Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are having a good day so far. So in this video today, we'll be building this discriminant formula calculator. If you guys don't already know what the discriminant formula is, it's this right here. So it's b squared minus 4ac. So it's b, whatever your b value is, and raised to the second power minus 4 times your a value times your c value. And that's your discriminant. And that's just something you use in quadratics and things like that in math class. So let's get started, but first I'm going to show you what it looks like. So we have these two squares which are moving up and down. When one is going up, the other one is going down. And I just decorated my calculator a little bit to make it more responsive. Like the button, like when you hover over it, it increases in size, and our inputs, when we hover over it, you can see the border, the bottom border. So yeah, let's get started. The first thing we'll do is get rid of all this code and start from scratch, and then I'll generate my boilerplate code, and in between my two body tags I'll just create a div and give an ID of container, and then inside of this container I'll create an input, give this a type of number. This will be placeholder equals a value, and the ID will just be a, that's it, and then a br tag which forces the next element to go onto the next row, and then I'll create another input with the type of number as well, placeholder equals b value. And the reason why I'm giving it a type of number is because it'll give it these arrows which will allow us to increase or decrease our numbers. And we can even give it a minimum and a maximum value so that we won't go over or below a certain value. So you can do that as well. Just type max and then set up quotes, and then you can type in your max value like 6. So now if I try going to my second input right here and going above 6, it will not let me because it's going to stop at 6. So you can try doing that if you want to. That's just a cool HTML trick you may want to keep in your toolbox. And then I'll create an ID and give this an ID of b, another br tag, and then I'll create another input for my c value, so type equals number as well, placeholder equals c value. ID will just be C, and then another br tag. Then I'll create a button with the ID of button. It doesn't have to be too specific because this is the only button we'll be creating for our entire project. And then I'll create a calculator. Well, it's going to be called calculate. Then a div and give an ID of result. And that's pretty much all the HTML we need for our container. We can start creating two more divs. We can create two more divs with the class of square, so div.square times 2. This will be square 1, this will be square 2. And now that's all we need for our HTML. Let's get started with the JavaScript. The JavaScript is very easy, so all we do is create our script tag, go in between those, and create a variable button. So basically what we're doing is storing our button in a variable, which then we can add an event listener to. And inside of the function, we will create a few more variables, starting with var a equals document.get element by ID. And the reason why I typed .value is because whatever value we type into the input, it will store it inside this variable. Because if we don't do that, then it won't know what to store. That's why we have to type .value. And we just do the same for variables c and b as well. So I'm just going to skip forward a little bit for you to save you some time. Alright, once we're done doing that, I'm just going to type the discriminant formula in case we may need it. So the formula is b squared minus 4ac. And since I'm already teaching you the discriminant in this video, in the next video I'll teach you the quadratic formula calculator. So var b squared equals math.pow, and that's whatever your b value is, because b is going to be a number. Raise it to the second power, and then the entire formula will be b squared. So that's our result that we get from this variable right here. That's our calculation, minus 4 times a times c. And that's the entire formula in JavaScript. And now all we have to do is do document.get element by ID result. So we're going to take our result and set its inner HTML to be the answer is plus formula. And obviously you can change up the wording a little bit if you want to. You can just say answer colon and then this right here. So it's really up to you. You can do it whatever way you want to. So now as you notice, when you click on our button, it works. But let's try actually typing in some values. So like 2, 2, and 2. Yes, that's right, because I remember calculating these exact numbers earlier today and I got the exact same answer. which means our calculator is working. So now we can get started with the CSS, which is probably the most fun part in my opinion, because we actually get to start styling our project and actually making it look more professional. So the first thing I'll style will be my browser. So I'll type body, that's how you select the browser, and give it a background color of #191728. And this value right here, this is called a hexadecimal color if you guys don't already know. If anyone here that is watching is new to CSS. And then we'll do background color RGBA 255, 255, 255, and then a 5% opacity, which is how it gets that glass-like appearance. And then we can do position absolute, so we can position it absolutely where we want it to be positioned on our browser. And I'll set its top value to be 50%, left 50%, not left 50% auto, my bad. That was autocorrect. And then transform translate, -50%, -50%, which will put it right in the dead-on center. And then after that we can give it a display flex, justify content center, flex direction column. So what flex direction column is doing is going to stack everything on top of each other like this in a column. So I just need to give it an align items of center, and then border radius 10 pixels, z index 1000, which will make sure that our container is always on top of all the other elements on our browser. And then we can style our input by typing background color transparent, so we're going to make it invisible. Now as you notice, the white rectangle goes away, and it still doesn't look that good because it has that gray border. So we're going to do border none, which will also take away the border. Now all you see is the placeholder and the arrows. And then after that we can do cursor pointer, so that when we hover over it, our cursor will turn into this pointer. And then we'll do text align center, which will align not just our text, but also our placeholder, because you see now it's right in the center of our input. And we'll give our inputs, all three of those, a focused property, which just means when we click on it. So when we click on it, we want the outline to go away by setting it to the value of none. So now you don't see that outline anymore. Let me try getting rid of this, and then you'll see the difference, because now you see the outline around it on the outside. We don't want that, so we can do outline none. And now if we refresh and save, it goes away. And then we can style our input's placeholder, and setting its color to be red or whatever color you want to set it to. It's your choice. And then 002 pixel red, #B, placeholder, color chartreuse, so that's kind of this bright neon green color mixed in with a little bit of tint of yellow. And then text shadow 002 pixel, chartreuse as well. Then #C, placeholder, color yellow, and then the text shadow will be 002 pixel yellow. And then we'll also give our input a hover property. And yes, I know we're giving it a lot of properties, like the focus property, we're styling its placeholder, and now hover property, that's 3 already, but it's going to be worth it in the end, I promise. So just do what I'm doing. Then we'll do border bottom 1 pixel solid white, so that only the bottom border will actually show up, while the rest of the other borders are still transparent, because now when we hover over it, we only see the bottom border of each input. And we'll also do input hover placeholder. So this just means when we hover over the input, we want the placeholder to change to something else. Well, it's not going to change, we're just adding on more styles to it. Actually, we can't do that, never mind. We can forget about this, just scratch that out. And now we can start styling our inputs individually by selecting them like that and making the color red, text shadow 002 pixel red, and we'll do the same thing for our B value. So just go grab this value right here, and actually to organize our code up a little bit, we might as well do this. So we're going to use that comma notation and just do #B placeholder. So now we can get rid of this, and it still works just fine. That just cleans up our code a little bit. And then we can do #A placeholder, and now we can get rid of this. And then we can also just take this, put it down here, and add our hashtag C. So now if we type in something, it will still be the same thing as the placeholder. That just cleans up our code a little bit and makes it much more readable and concise, which is what coding is all about. And then we'll do hashtag result color blue, text shadow 003 pixel blue, font family will be sans serif or whatever font you want to change it to. It's your choice. And then we'll do 0.4s. Actually, we don't need that. And then after that, we can start styling our square down here. So I'm going to select my square class by typing dot, which denotes class in CSS. So square, and give them each a border radius of 10 pixels, width of 270 pixels, height of 270 pixels, and I also forgot to scale our container by 4. So let's add a scale property right here and make it 4 so that it's a little bigger. Well, not a little, but a lot. That just makes it a little easier to see. And then after that, we can give our square a position relative, and this is where we start styling them individually. So starting with square 1, the background will be linear gradient, hashtag 42FFAA, hashtag 29C2FF, which just blends together those two colors and creates this really nice looking linear gradient color for our square. And then left 230 pixels, top 370 pixels. Then the animation will be animate, that's going to be the name of its animation, 10.7s, which is the duration, 10.7 seconds. I'll explain more and go more into depth of how these values actually work and how they're used in CSS animations in future videos. But for now, our main focus in this video is just building this discriminant formula calculator. So after this, we can give it a timing function. And then after that, we can style our square 2, give it a background linear gradient of hashtag FF001111. So that's basically red. And then we'll use that color one more time. And then the last one will be different from those first two. So it's going to be orange. So it's two reds blended in with orange to make this fiery magma lava color that comes out of a volcano. Then left 900 pixels, 300 pixels bottom. Animation will be animate 2. The duration will be the same as square 1. Then linear infinite. And then I'm going to set its keyframes. And the first thing I'll set its keyframes for is square 1. So the name of square 1 was animate 2. Animate 1, my bad. A set of curly braces. And in here we can start specifying each interval of the animation, starting with 0%, which is the start of the animation. So we want the transform property to be translate y0, which is going to do absolutely nothing, since if you translate 0 up or down, it's not going to do anything, it's going to stay put. And then 50%, this is where it changes a little bit. So we'll do translate y, except we're now going to move it down 400 pixels. And you see now it's starting to move down. So let's take a look at that. Actually, it doesn't look that good. Let's make it move up 400 pixels like that. And then 100% complete of the animation, we'll do transform, translate y0. So it's going to stay put, go up, and then go back down in 10.7 seconds. And that's basically going to be how it is for our square 2 as well. So I'll just select this, I'll just copy it, paste it down here, change this to square 2, and instead of this being negative 400, this will just be 400. So now they're moving in opposite directions. So when this is at the bottom, this is at the top. So it's this cool balancing effect. And let's test out our calculator one more time. So I'll try 2, 2, and 2. Okay, great. Things are working just fine so far. And now the last thing we have to do is style our button, because obviously we don't want the default styles that our HTML gave us, because it doesn't look that good. So I'll select a button, give it a background color of hashtag FFEE00, which will turn it into yellow. And we also want the border of it to go away, so we'll do border none. Border radius will be 20 pixels so that it's not as sharp. And now it's a peel shaped button, which is what we wanted. That is great. And then cursor pointer, so that when we hover over it, our cursor will turn into this pointer. And then for our button, again, we'll give it a focus property, and we want the outline to be none, so that when we click on it, you don't see the outline. And then we'll do button hover. So when we hover over it, we'll scale it by 1.15. So it will just increase in size by 1.5. So that's 15% of its original size. And yeah guys, this is pretty much it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to go check out my other videos that I have linked in the description below and my channel page as well. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe because I post a ton of CSS animations and a ton more JavaScript videos, so stay tuned for that. And in the future, I'll start designing websites and creating responsive websites, so also stay tuned for that. So if you want to see all those and get instant notifications, make sure you subscribe. And other than that guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you again in my next video.